Bank's main mission is about poverty alleviation and development. In terms of climate change, it's become a huge agenda because climate change is actually affecting development and the developmental gains that the countries have made. So about 3 years ago, the World Bank seriously started saying that climate change has to be an integral component of its work, both in terms of the grants and in terms of the investments that basically the money that the countries borrow to do a lot of their national planning, their national development, and so on. Climate change is affecting developing countries because many of them are actually located within what are called to be climate-sensitive areas. So they tend to be in very dry areas, and therefore when climate change is coming in with more droughts, more dry periods, it's actually affecting them. The second way it's affecting them is because they're still very heavily dependent on agriculture and on forests. And both of these sectors are in fact being negatively impacted by climate change. So they in fact get what are called the double trouble. One of the important roles institutions like the World Bank, organizations like the Water Tribune can have is basically elevate the awareness of climate change as a development agenda, not just as a technical or IPCC or knowledge agenda, but really something that we need to take practical action on. So that is a critical role that we need to play. We need to bring in policymakers or politicians at the highest level possible to help with taking action, and we need to bring in developing and developed world, not just focus on developed world or developing world, but all of us collectively together. We need to find some effective solutions that are creative, that are interesting, that are implementable in many countries. Over the last week, we've heard many countries basically emphasize the need for capacity development, capacity for people to take action by themselves, bringing in different knowledge. So Tanzania, for example, brought in the importance of women knowing how climate change is really going to be affecting them and how they have to be aware of it so they can in fact then learn what the solutions could be to change their life and their children's lives or their family's life. We also heard about basically how capacity and knowledge is needed for agriculture production to be far better and less at risk from climate change than it has been over the past 5 years or so, or past 10 years or so. The other major issue that was coming through is finance. We have a huge gap in terms of the resources that are needed for integrating climate change adaptation, which is really action to reduce the impacts of climate change on developing countries, the financial resources that are needed, and the money that is available at the moment.